Yo, what's up guys? Jumping here, and I'm going to be bringing you another Cabal, or like what I like to call her, the Cabala Vanguard. This is actually going to be a Poison Strike build. Now, if you want the build, it's in the description. So I'm actually going to start there with this commentary, just kind of talk about the build and my choices and what I like about each aspect. Alright, now for the first thing is, let's talk a little bit about Poison Strike. I only go for damage. I don't max this power out. Primary reason is because I don't really feel that it's very necessary to max out Poison Strike at all. I go for the damage because the range, I don't really think the range is pretty much necessary. The main reason for that is because the range on this power, well, not the range necessarily, but at least if you want to actually hit the enemy, it's a very close range power. That's the really confusing part I think that people have with this power. You think that it's going to have like this ridiculous range, and then it turns out it has about as much range as the Nightshade Blades slash a very close range power move or shotgun. That's the best way to think of it, is use it almost like you would a point blank shotgun. The range of Poison Strike in reality is anywhere from 5 to 6 meters. That is the range of what you will do to actually hit the enemies and do damage to them. So if you want to do the actual like 700 damage, you need to be in that range zone. If you want to detonate your own explosions from your ammo type, because that is one of her best aspects, honestly, with Poison Strike, is the ability to detonate your own explosions like fire explosions with incendiary ammo, then that is amazing. Now for the Nightshade Blades, I have it pretty much similar to the other build, if you remember that. That is more of a soldier-like build. I like that build a lot. And I'm not going to say this build is better. This build, I would say, is probably more fun than that build, but I do kind of still believe that that build is a little bit better, because I kind of like the idea of running around with a Cyclonic on and being able to just sit there and continuously spam focus. Now you can do that with a build like this as well, but it would make no sense. Why would you do that? Why have Poison Strike on your build if you're never going to really use it much? So that's the way I look at it. So anyway, with the Nightshade Blades, they're set up similar. The only real difference between my other build and this build is that the Nightshade Blades, I go for the Exploding Blades. The reason why I do that is because, well, Exploding Blades is kind of interesting with like this whole idea. What I like to do is I run up to the enemies and normally I'll use right away one Nightshade Blade, primarily to take down shields, because if you're going to use something like incendiary ammo, you want to be able to take down the shields of the enemies so that you can catch them on fire. Now one thing I will say real quick is that I was not very impressed by this gameplay. I did not think it could have been the best one I could have possibly got. I just kind of didn't want to sit there and keep playing with her all night, so I thought this was a decent gameplay. But overall, I thought I could have done better. So I apologize if you don't really like this gameplay as much, but I thought it was pretty decent. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to it. So the Nightshade Blades. Exploding Blades are actually really cool for this whole idea. With the other build, I was using the Rieger Carbine, so I really didn't see I didn't think that they were necessary going for Exploding Blades. But with this build, it is kind of cool, because what I like to do is I shoot the blades into the group of enemies, I take down their shields, I set them up normally with my gun for a fire explosion. Then I'll Poison Strike them to detonate my own fire explosion. And after the Poison Strike and that damage and the fire explosion damage and the initial Night Blade damage, most enemies actually die, but if they don't die, then the Poison Exploding Blades will definitely kill them. So it's she's a lot of exploding fun, that is for sure. So keep that in mind. For my focus power, it's set up almost the exact same way. The only difference is that with a build like this, obviously you're probably going to be using Poison Strike, so you won't be spamming it as much. But you should definitely try to always have it on if possible, just to get the buffs for the movement speed and the damage reduction. That is pretty important. So try to pay attention and use it whenever you are not in the heat of the moment. And also, if you're about to die, of course, you can always use it to help you stay alive with the regenerating shields. So focus is a very good power. And for her just Cabal normal stuff, I just go for the passive weapon damage, and I go for the fitness, just like one rank into that. Alright, so that's pretty much the build in a nutshell. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how I like to play this build. The first thing I like to do with Poison Strike is I run into the group, I hit them with the Nightshade Blades. That really helps me take down some shields. I shoot them just a little bit. I'm using the Hurricane, and the reason why I'm using the Hurricane is because I think the Hurricane is a very good choice for her. You can use really any gun you want as long as it is a decent gun at setting up explosions. So a lot of shotguns are good. The Raider is actually really good if you want to try that. The Wraith. Any gun that you feel is really good at setting up explosions very quickly, go ahead and use that kind of gun. Now here's the thing though, is that I am using the Hurricane because the Hurricane also sets up explosions extremely quickly. It's something about the DPS on the gun, I don't really know. But I know the Hurricane can almost just in a couple bullets set up a fire explosion on most enemies. So after you set up that fire explosions and you have now taken down the shields with your Nightshade Blades, then all you have to do is, well, Poison Strike. As long as you're in that range, which is, remember, anywhere from 5 meters to 6 meters, so it's extremely close. It is kind of weird because you might not be used to that if you are used to playing with Vanguards. Vanguards are what Charge does, which all Vanguards have, besides her, is if you see an enemy from across the map, you can charge across the map, get point blank to the enemies, and have some close range battles. And that is how Vanguards are really meant to be played. With her, she's a lot different. And I think that's one of the problems a lot of people have with her, is that you have to get used to her playstyle. You won't be charging across the map, you will be running across the map. And the reason why I say running is because you really want to run to where the enemies are, hit him with that Nightshade Blade to help take down some shields. Shoot him a little bit, maybe with your Hurricane if you choose to use a weapon like this. Poison Strike from the right range. As long as you can Poison Strike from that right range, you'll detonate your explosion, your fire explosion that is, and then after all that, boom. Your poison exploding blades will go off and everything will definitely die. So it's actually really fun. So that is the way I recommend to primarily just repeat that method over and over again. And yeah, you'll have a lot of success if you do that. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Poison Strike, because for the remainder of this video, I will be sitting here talking about Poison Strike, because there is a lot to talk about. This is such a unique power, and it's a little bit of a troll, that's for sure. I feel that a lot of times this power can troll me, but it is a very fun power to use, especially when you get the hang of it. Alright, so Poison Strike. The number one thing I like about this power, my favorite aspect of it, is the ability to move around the map. That is actually really cool. This Cabal Vanguard has by far, in my opinion, the best dodges in the game. It's a lot like the Slayer and the Fury, where she can teleport through walls, but the main difference is that it's instant. So there is no trigger time. Anytime that you feel danger and you want to just go fly across the map through all the walls, and it's insane. You could just go really quickly and get to the other side of the map. I love that. Poison Strike is a lot like that, where you can actually go through walls with Poison Strike. And the most interesting and unique thing about this power is the fact that you can actually use this power anytime you want. You don't have to lock onto an enemy. If you want it just to use it to run away or to get, run faster or move faster, you can do that. And that is very cool, honestly. So, if you want to go through a wall with this power, go right ahead. You can go through almost every wall, as long as there's something on the other side. So you gotta keep that in mind. And that's a little bit of the trolly part about the power. Sometimes you'll try to Poison Strike because another really good thing about this power is that it does give you a couple frames of invincibility, so you won't take any damage. So it can actually make you a little bit beefy or tankier if you pull it off at the right time. Like if a brute is coming at you and is going to hit you, Poison Strike through him, and he will not hit you. So that is pretty cool. That's a good example right there. And I love that aspect of it, I really do. But sometimes you'll try to Poison Strike and it will not allow you to. The reason why it will do this is because for some reason either the game is registering that you cannot Poison Strike because for some reason there's nothing on the other side. I don't know. It's weird. you know, sometimes it's clear. It's definitely clear. Like, well, there's no way I could teleport through that wall, so that's the reason why I wasn't able to poison strike. And then other times you're like, wait a minute, I should have totally been able to go through that wall or whatever. Why did it not allow me to poison strike? And sometimes, honestly, that will get you killed. And that is by far extremely annoying when that happens. Normal charge also does some stuff like that sometimes, but that comes, I believe, from standing on ramps. If you're on a ramp and you're trying to use charge, well, charge might not work. So, with this power, I don't think it has anything to do with any ramps, but it really comes down to if the game feels that you can actually get to the destination that you're trying to get to. So, if it's a dead end, you're not going to be able to poison strike. Anyway, though, the main thing about this power, though, is you have to remember you want to try to, at all times, stay in the range so that you can actually detonate your own explosions, / you're going to be able to do damage. Because the 700 damage or 600 damage, whatever it does, will only actually register if you are in that range. And that damage is actually kind of nice. Like, you will knock down enemies. That's really cool. You will do a decent amount of damage to them, and all small enemies, cannibals, assault troopers, husk, you can pretty much kill them with that move. And if you don't kill them, the poison will definitely kill them. Now the poison, I really don't like the poison DPS on either Nightshade Blade or on Poison Strike. I think that the poison DPS is some really slow DPS, but I think it stacks. It might not. It's just how it goes. Alright, so my favorite thing about the power, though, by far, is the ability to move through the map. She has amazing side dodges. I love to just start side dodging away from all danger. It's absolutely amazing when you do that. But Poison Strike also gives you this really cool forward dodge. And I like that as well. That is for sure. So, I think Poison Strike is kind of a very fun power to use. Now, is it amazing? No, it's not amazing. Is it worth using? It's definitely worth trying. It really comes down to you, like if you like it or not. Once you understand the power and you get used to it, then maybe you'll love it, maybe you won't. But I will say one thing. If you do not have incendiary ammo, or you don't have much of that power, I would definitely probably recommend you the other version of the build. This build is basically a Vanguard build, the Poison Strike, Nightshade Blade, Vanguard build, where the other build I would say is more or less like a soldier build. You just use focus the entire time, and you shoot and you hit them with the Nightshade Blade. That's the build. So it's more like playing as a soldier than it is as Vanguard. Where this is definitely a little bit more like playing like a Vanguard. So in general, I would say if you have incendiary ammo, definitely go for it. Incendiary ammo is probably the best ammo for her because you can set up the fire explosions. Fire explosions are really good. I would not recommend disruptor ammo as much. Tech bursts are pretty obsolete nowadays, unfortunately. That's one of the things that I do not like, and I feel like some people might say, oh, don't say that. But yeah, guys, the whole crowd explosion, fire explosion thing, it definitely is really cool, and it has changed this game quite a bit. But in some ways, it's changed this game in ways I don't like. And what I mean is, okay, here's the best example. I've said this before in other videos. And what that is that sometimes when I'm trying to do, like, let's say a biotic or an adept, and I'm playing with someone using snap freeze, I can never get my own fucking explosions. I hate that. It's like I go out of my way to set up like some people, and because I'm playing with an Alliance Infiltration Unit or a Paladin, I'm just detonating cryo explosions all day. I hate that so much. It gets on my nerves. So, like, if I'm trying to do something like that, I always tell the people in my game, please switch. I do not want to sit there and just detonate endless cryo explosions for you when my whole build and my strategy relies on me detonating my own explosions. I feel that, like, biotic explosions are a little bit obsolete compared to, like, fire explosions, especially when you start thinking about things like the Geth Trooper and Flamer and what that can do. And Tech Bursts, I mean, there's no point to even mention Tech Bursts because cryo explosions are just so much better. Snap Freeze is such a ridiculous power. So that's the one thing I am not like super happy about. At first it was always cool, but the more and more, if you play this game a lot, I just get a little sick of everyone just doing fire explosions non-stop, cryo explosions non-stop. Sometimes I just think back of the good old days of just doing tech burst teams and biotic explosion teams all the time, and that was like the team of exploders that was just amazing. We don't have that as much anymore, so I think that's a little bit of a shame. But that is my opinion, so whatever. Now, one thing I should have brought up a lot earlier, which I kind of forgot about, but it's somewhat important, is that you can use Gef Scanner on this build. If you're going to do that, though, I would say you might want to try capacity on Nightshade Blades. That way you can actually have 3 and you don't need grenade capacity. Because I use grenade capacity on this build. But I feel like I know where the enemies are for the most part. You could still go through walls even without the whole Gef Scanner, so I don't really understand why people are recommending that, but I've heard that so much. Try Gef Scanner on the Cabal. It's really good. So that's something you guys can definitely try out if you want. Go for it. Anyway, guys, what you just saw there, that is one of the things that I really do not like about this power, or at least about Poison Strike. It kind of drives me crazy, and it happens a lot. You'll be doing your thing, you're trying to play it the right way, you're trying to set up your own gun explosion and then detonate your own gun explosion. And in the midst of doing that, you will actually charge into something terrible, like, well, a brute, and you'll get immediately meleeed, or a marauder, and you'll get immediately meleeed and staggered. Or you'll just go right into a Ravager or whatever, and you will get, well, exploded on / like jizzed on, and it's really annoying. Phantoms can literally stab you. Like that has happened to me on host, and I know that happens off host. Banshees can literally grab you right as you go through them. So there is some definite trolling moments that can happen with Poison Strike. And I kind of hate that aspect, but overall, it is a fun power. Like I said, the main thing about it, and the main thing about this Cabal in general that is a lot of fun, is the ability to actually move around the map. That is my favorite aspect. The whole gun explosion thing, it's whatever. Like, I think that's cool, but almost everybody can do something like that. I mean, shit, you can strap on disruptor ammos or incendiary ammo on anybody with overload. And if you could set them up for the gun explosion, then you overload them and you'll get a fire explosion. So most people in the game, especially Vanguards, can do something like this already. So this is nothing very new. I mean, the Havoc, Turian Havoc or whatever, he could do the same thing where he can get fire explosions. And it's definitely kind of fun, but it's not nothing new or impressive. But it is the way that you should actually use her. She's definitely the most effective if you set them up for that fire explosion and you go through them. It seems like everybody is pretty much playing her like this anyway, or at least the majority of the people who I know who actually likes her, they really like to do the whole fire explosion thing. It's nothing new, but hey, you know, it's whatever. Anyway, to me, the most fun thing about her is the ability just to move around the map and to look really cool as you do it. I've had a couple people like watch me play like after they die, and they actually have never really seen anyone play the Cabal. And when they actually got to see me move around the map, they were like super impressed by her. They thought she looked a lot of fun, because she is a lot of fun, especially when you use Poison Strike in that aspect. So guys, definitely go and try this out. I think it's fun. Personally, I probably would like the other build better, but I hope you like this video. Please like it for me, favorite it, and you guys have a nice day.